Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Let's start with the invocation prayers. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriyet Shravatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shamana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhatsatam Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagvat Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavti Nashtiki. Hare Krishna, dear devotees.
Hare
So
Krishna.
in the invocation, the two verses that we just recited are the 17th and 18th. Shavtam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shamana Kirtanaha Hidayantasto Hya Abhadrani Vidunoti Swasatam. All the inauspicious things, they are cleansed from our heart. Now the question arises, how are they cleansed? Because Nashta Prayesha Bhadresha Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So we should give regular service daily. We should be giving service to Bhagavat Sevaya. So there are two types of Bhagavat, person Bhagavat and then book Bhagavat. So when we serve both of them, and who are they glorifying? Uttam Shloke Bhagavati. So they are glorifying and praising with transcendental songs the Supreme Personality of Godhead, His name, form, activities, and pastimes. And what's the effect? Irrevocable effect, which is loving service, loving devotional service is established in one's heart. Now, we did cover this particular verse, verse 19. Tada rajastamo bhavaha kama lobhadayaschaye chetatyarana viddham stitam satve prasiddhati. So what would happen? It's again, our heart has been transformed. But how is it transformed is starting from this verse. This and the next two verses form a specific group that teaches and shows us, helps us realize how to see the progression of path, onto the spiritual platform, transcendental platform. Now, we all understand there's so much negativity in the material world that everyone is thinking, I'm trying to understand how we don't fall down. But this is on the opposite direction. How can we rise above where we are? Tada ranjastamo bhava kamalobhadayas chaye chetatyaranavittam. So, when the irrevocable loving service is established in one's heart, that's referred to as tada. So again, then all the influences of mode of passion, mode of ignorance, they are eradicated. And what are these effects? Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsar. So Kam, Lobh, Adi, right? Adi means
Não pode
and all
dormir
the
com isso,
negativity.
não.
They
Dormir
are.
de meia, não. Você tem que tirar o negócio.
And what happens? One is situated in Sattva Guna, which is Shuddha Sattva state, pure goodness. So the three modes of material nature, yes, we understand, but in the three modes of material nature, even the mode of goodness has some tinge of mode of passion, mode of ignorance. But when we engage in devotional service, this loving service is established in the heart. So again, and that's the goal of life, to get love of Godhead, and that comes through the loving service that's established in the heart. And Anand Bhaya Abhyasat, that one becomes happy, and we're all seeking happiness, right? So this we covered in the last class. Today we'll be covering the next two verses. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavate tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, Shuddha Sattva. So, evam prasannaman. So, one becomes jolly. So, again, The man whose mind has been enlivened by the contact with devotional service. Why is that jolly nature coming? Because being enlivened in contact with the loving devotional service to the Lord, one gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead. In the stage of liberation from all material association, Mukta Sangasya Jayate. Please join us in reciting Guru Pranati and seeking blessings from the Acharyas. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshitarine Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tadaham vande Shri Gurum dina taranam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So now when we become joyful, right, that was Sattve Prasiddhati Sthitam, Sattve Prasiddhati. That's where we become joyful because we are established in the pure Shuddha Sattva and all our activities are for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thus our mind, sometimes people have this tendency of saying, mind does not matter. No, it's all about mind. Yoga process is all about mind. If mind is delivered, we are delivered. So again, because it's the mind that identifies our next destination. Lord Krishna clearly says, because somebody can say, where does Lord Krishna say that mind will determine our destination? Then we talk about the Yami mantra. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajat anta kalevaram tam tam evati kanteya sadatad bhava bhavita. So whatever one thinks at the moment of death, that is where one goes as a destination. So that's what one attains because the mind is driving. And Lord Krishna clearly says in the next verse that whoever is thinking of me alone, exclusively of Lord Krishna at the last moment of death, attains him, goes back home, back to Godhead. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastatra samshaya. And in this there is no doubt. So antakale cha mame eva. So at the last moment of life, at the moment of death, who is thinking of me alone, eva, exclusively of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Smaran muktva kalevaram, yah prayati samadbhavam. He attains my nature. My nature means he comes to the spiritual world, he comes back to me. Smaran muktva kalevaram. And so, yati nastatra samshaya. And in this, there is no samshaya, there is no doubt. So similarly here, we understand that it is the mind that is being enlivened by the devotional service. And when, Srila Prabhupada is translating, he's saying one gains positive scientific knowledge. It's not a regular bookish knowledge. Scientific knowledge is based on, you have a specific statement, like, okay, this is the hypothesis. And then you have an apparatus. You follow a process and you carry out an experiment, and then you capture the observations from that experiment. And finally, you draw conclusions. That is the way scientific, we have done some of the science labs and other things back in school. That's how we understand the scientific processes. So the scientific knowledge is Vijnanam, which is realized knowledge based on executing what has been prescribed in the Shastras and the sadhus and the guru. And so those are the three references, sadhu, guru, and shastra. Spiritual masters, scripture, bona fide scriptures, and the saintly persons. So we follow their directions. And in our case, the apparatus is this very body of ours. This mind, our actions, our speech, all of this, mind, body, and words. Those are the three ways we carry out all actions. So we carry out the actions from these three medias, mind, body, and words. and we observe what is the result. And finally, we come to the realization. Final conclusion is drawn that at the stage, one becomes Mukta Sangasya Jayate. So one becomes Bhagavad Tattva. One understands Bhagavad Tattva. So we understand the truth, the true position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And how that also helps us understand our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jivera Surupaya Krishna Nityadas, that we are eternal servant of Lord Krishna. Krishnera Tathashte Shakti Bheda Bheda Prakash. Now the second line is also very important, that we are the marginal potency of Lord Krishna. So marginal potency, qualitatively same as Lord Krishna, but quantitatively we are minuscule and he is magnanimous. So he is unlimited and we are very limited. So that's the difference. And Bhed Abhed Prakash. So again, that's the difference between simultaneously one and different. Qualitatively different, qualitatively same, quantitatively different. Like the example of ocean water. You want to find out what's the consistency, you take a small sample, or this is small sample is us. And you can understand what is the consistency of the vast ocean based on this small sample. Similarly, a small gold ring versus the whole gold mine. So Lord Krishna is like the gold mine, unlimited supply. But we are limited, like a gold ring. So that's another way of looking at it. Bheda Abheda Prakash. So again, this is also very interesting. Bheda Abheda Tattva Gyan was something Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discussed. And sometimes devotees say, oh, it's very difficult to understand. Actually, perfect questions, perfect answers. Srila Prabhupada explains it very simply. It's one of the easiest things to understand, that we are qualitatively one, but quantitatively different. And then somebody says, how can material energy, when we come in contact with material energy, she takes over. Well, that's her service. She is trying to fulfill the desires that we are born with, and we have to purify our desires. And that happens by regular service of devotional service, by regular engagement in devotional service. Now somebody could say, well, is there an example? Can you help me understand in a scientific way? Yes, there is a way. So you can fill a glass with, say, black ink, it's dark black ink, and you start pouring water on it. What will happen? Slowly, the ink will start coming out, and it will become lighter and lighter and lighter, comes to a point that it will completely become transparent. So there won't be any ink, it will all be water. Yes, but you have to do it regularly. And anytime you stop this supply of water, the supply of ink would start, because one of the two supplies have to go on. So similarly, when we do our activities, we have to engage in devotional service. When we are not carrying out our activities in Krishna consciousness, then we are carrying out activities in material consciousness, which is that black ink getting filled into the glass. That's gonna cause us to get more bound. Now that we come to the binding phase, so when we are engaging in loving devotional service, somebody could say, how does the binding go away? The very next verse talks about that particular aspects. Vidyate hidaya gantesh chidyante sarva samshaya kshiyante chasya karmani drashta evatmanishvare. Now, sometimes people, they look at this particular verse and they completely misinterpret it. So we have to be very careful to understand the context in which Srila Prabhupada is giving the translation. So what happens because of this effect? That we are mukta sangasya jayate, that we, the hridaya gantis, the tight knot in our heart with this material attachment, thinking I am this body, everything belonging to this body belongs to me, thinking it that way, that is material consciousness. What is Krishna consciousness? Understanding that we are eternal servant of the Lord. Lord is so merciful that we were not even qualified to receive this body, but He has granted this gift to us, a very rare form of life, the human form of life, where we have much more potency than the animal life or even plant life. All of the 8.4 million species are there. And it's the 400, which is 0.4 million, which is 400,000 are the human types, 4 lakhs human varieties. And of them, we have this human body, which is a great boon because we can have higher purpose. We can inquire about higher purpose. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. So when we inquire about higher purpose, then we can actually attain much more than other living entities can, because other living entities are literally at the level of eat, sleep, mate, defend. So again, they are looking at the basic necessities. But we, apart from those, we can do much more. And even the eat, sleep, mate, defend, we eat just to sustain the body. We sleep just to rejuvenate the body, but we want to use as much time as possible in Krishna consciousness for the pleasure of the Lordship. Samsiddhim Haritosham, for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. And so when we are, even in case of meeting, we say meeting, Ishta Goshti. That is our entertainment. We do kirtan, we do dancing, we do, Shravanam, Kirtan, Vishnu Smaram, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. We carry out our activities in the 9 process of devotional service, which is Shravanam is hearing. Kirtanam is chanting. And we chant the Mahamantra, this easiest of all processes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Smaranam, remembering the Lord. And the beauty is, everything that we see around us, we can connect it with the Lordship. When you look at the sky, it's blue in color. Lord Krishna's color is blue. At night, the moon comes out, reminds us of such wonderful potency of the Lord. Lord says, the sun and moon are my eyes. So we can think of the Lordship in that relationship, so that we can relate everything that's around us directly with Lord Krishna. So that's a very important aspect. Smaranam, always think of name, form, activities, pastimes. Seeing Krishna everywhere. And when seeing Krishna everywhere, we have an opportunity to serve the Lordship, his lotus feet. And sometimes when we serve the sadhus, and the Guru, of course, automatically, they are the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes very pleased when we are serving his representatives. And Archanam, we do Archana Vidhi. So again, we do deity worship at homes. So those who are qualified, they do it at homes as well as in temple. But we all, in our whatever capabilities we have, whatever capacity we carry out, always want to do artis of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Knowing the process, bona fide process, has tremendous advantage though. So we should all have the responsibility to come to the level of devotional service and be established in Shuddha Sattva. Now, in the purpose, Srila Prabhupada very clearly says that to come to the Shuddha Sattva stage means you have to come to the Brahman stage, because Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudras are in the lower modes. Kshatriyas are in the mode of passion. Vaishyas are in the combination mode of passion and mode of ignorance, and Shudras are in the mode of ignorance. So we have to purify our consciousness. Now, sometimes people think of Brahmanas as like, oh, these are Shuddha Sattvas. No, many times Brahmanas are also carrying out various material activities. It is a matter of consciousness. That is a very important aspect. So we have to be in the Shuddha Sattva, and I can give you many examples coming from the scriptures where it is revealed that Shuddha Sattva stage could be attained by any living entity. It doesn't have to be like somebody who's carrying out the duties of a Brahmana. The best example is Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, Lord Shiva. He's the topmost Vaishnava. What was his activities? His activities is when he becomes angry, he destroys worlds, he destroys the planets one after another. So you can imagine that activity appears to be in the mode of ignorance. But because it is a recycling process of our material universe, the 5 elements are getting recycled for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to carry out as a service to him. They are on a transcendental platform. Even though the activity may appear to our eyes to be that happen to be in the mode of ignorance, but they are carrying out for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as per his desire. They are transcendental to the three modes of material nature, and Lord Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava. And he's also Ashutosh. He's easily pleased and easily angered. When somebody becomes angry, which particular mode is he in? Well, this is transcendental anger. You have to understand. That's not the material mode. He's actually also the Lord of the, Parvati, who is the Durga, who is the warden of this Durg. Durg is representing this material universe. So how do we understand? Is there a story in Srimad Bhagavatam that can help us understand this better? Yes, my dear devotees. There's a beautiful narration. So raise your hand. Let me just stop sharing so I can see. Raise your hand if you have heard about Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh. How many people have heard about Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh? I only see 2 hands, 3 hands. Niru Mataji, Monika Mataji, Pralanand Prabhu, Aruni. What about others? Have you heard about Hiranyaksh and Hiranyakashipu? Radha Mataji also says yes. So yes, these were the 2 sons of Diti. Sons of Ditis, or the descendants of Ditis, are referred to as Daityas. Now, who knows about the story of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh? Raise your hand on that one. I will cover the gist of the story. Hare Krishna, Monika Mataji. So basically, Diti, she saw that her elder sister, who also has the same husband as her, Kashyapa Muni, all her sisters are getting children, and she has the desire to have children too, and especially sons. And so she approaches Kashyapa Muni. She is the youngest sister, among her sisters, she is the youngest one. And she's very beautiful, very attractive. And when Kashyapa Muni, at the dusk time, at the twilight time, she approaches him and she demands to have, children. So at that time, Kashyapa Muni, being attracted by her beauty, gives her this ability that she's going to have. But at the same time, he says that, at this time, my brother Shiva, along with all his Bhutaganas, those are the followers of Lord Shiva, right? He goes out, on a, on a walk. And so these negative forces and that influences there of negative forces. So unfortunately, you will have 2 sons, but both of them will be demons. So they will be asuras, they will not be devotees. Now, hearing this, Diti becomes very sad at heart that my sons will not be very auspicious, they will be causing troubles, and so they will get a lot of curses and other things. So she says, is there a solution? And being compassionate to her, sage Kashyap, her husband, says, actually, don't worry, they will be killed by Lord Vishnu, and so they will be delivered and they will go back home, back to Godhead, because Lord Vishnu is transcendental to the 3 modes of material nature. Whether he blesses or he punishes, the effect is same. It's absolute in nature. So they will go back home, back to Godhead. So when she hears it, it's fine. Sometimes when we hear that such and such bad thing would happen, it appears okay to our ears. But when it really happens, then we feel the impact. Sometimes people say, oh, such and such bad thing happened with others. We pray that, okay, may that person get the blessing of the Lordship, have the strength to be able to carry out the duties properly and be able to face the life circumstances. We pray like that as Vaishnavas. Yet at the same time, when the same thing happens to us, we have to have the same attitude. But it doesn't always happen that way. So similarly, after Hiranyaksh and then Hiranyakashipu, both were killed. Hiranyaksh was killed by the Varahadev, who appeared because he asked Lord Brahma to not be killed by various living entities. He was listing all of them because Lord Brahma says, even I'm not immortal. How can I give you the boon to be immortal? So he asked something else. So he said, I should not be killed by Ashtra, Shastra, this kind of living entity. He was going through 8.4 million, but then he missed one intentionally. He said hog, a wild hog, it's such a dirty animal. I don't want to say that name, so he didn't say that. That's Varaha. So Lord appeared in that Varaha form. And also because of Hiranyaksh. Hiranya means eye seeking gold. Aksha refers to eyes, and Hiranya is gold. So one who is always looking for gold. And he had extracted so much gold from planet Earth that the planet Earth lost its balance, fell from its orbit into the Garbhoda question, into the very dirty regions. And we all know that hog is one animal that can go into the very dirty regions. So Lord appeared as Varahadev and lifted earth. And when Hiranyaksh challenged him, he simply let the earth float because of his potency onto the Garbhodha. So again, why did earth float? While previously it had sunk inside? Because Lord had touched and also gave her the balance. All that balance that she had lost, him retained her in her original position, in her original state. And then Lord Varahadev fights with Hiranyaksh and kills him. Hiranyakashipu comes to know of this and he thinks, oh, Lord Vishnu, he cheated my brothers. So he is looking for Lord Vishnu everywhere. He gets the boon that he cannot be killed from Lord Brahma, that he cannot be killed during the day or during the night. He cannot be killed inside the house or outside the house. He cannot be killed in the sky or on land. He's got all these various conditions, but Lord appears as Nrsimhadev. He cannot be killed by a man or an animal. So now Nrsimhadev form is not of a man or an animal. He kills with his nails. Now nails are neither living nor dead. So all those conditions, he's killed, at the doorstep at the entrance. So he's not inside the house or outside the house. He's killed at the twilight time. So it's neither day nor light. All those conditions are met. And Lord kills Hiranyakashipu. And at that time, we know about Prahlad Maharaj. He pacifies the Lord. No other demigod, including Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva, was able to pacify, but Prahlad Maharaj was able to pacify the Lord. And just like a lion shows by licking the cub on the cheeks, that's how Lord blessed Prahlad and also asked him to ask for a boon. Prahlad says, I don't want anything for myself. I'm more worried about these fallen living entities who are suffering in this material world. So Prahlad Maharaj is worried about us. We should carry out the duty because we should not be acting so foolishly. Now, Diti later on comes to here. So first, when she heard about Hiranyaksh, she was really hurt. Now, her elder son, Hiranyakashipu. So Hiranyaksh was born first, Hiranyakashipu was born second. But she conceived Hiranyakashipu before Hiranyaksh. That's why Hiranyaksh is the younger one and Hiranyakashipu is the elder brother. So again, among the twins. So when she saw Hiranyakashipu being killed, now she understood that it was for Indra. Lord Vishnu had killed her two sons. She knew this when she conceived these two sons from Kashyapa Muni. Kashyapa Muni, sage Kashyapa, had already revealed it to her. Yet this time it really happened. And she now became so angry at Indra. And she said, I have to find a solution to kill this Indra because he is the cause of the death of my two sons. Now, even though her sons have returned back to Godhead, she is not satisfied with that. She is upset that because of Indra, her two sons were killed. So she has this, she's like the conflict level 5, where, the person alive, even away, is not sufficient, has to be annihilated, eliminated completely. So she devises a plan. Now, what's the plan? So now we can understand she is in anger. This is in the mode of ignorance. In reality, material modes are all in mode of ignorance because material consciousness, that's Krishna Surya Sama, Maya He Andhikara, Jahan Krishna, Taha Nahi Mayara Adhikara. So Lord Krishna is like the sun, and material energy is like the darkness. So wherever Lord Krishna is there, wherever sun is there, how can there be darkness? But here her consciousness is fully in darkness, in ignorance. And she's upset. But at the same time, she is devising a plan how to kill Indra. So she devises a plan. She says, I will please my husband so much that he will be ready to give me any boon. So when Sage Kashyap comes home, he sees his wife serving him day and night with full attention. He's really pleased. He's thinking, even though she's so mature, I told her that her sons will be delivered. She is happy that her sons got delivered by Lord Vishnu, thinking this. Kashyapa Muni is becoming more and more pleased by seeing her submissive nature, her service, her care that she is showing towards him. So being pleased by her over a long period of time. It's not that, sometimes we see husband comes home, wife has made very nice prasadam, and she's like, I've got all this wonderful prasadam, and she has offered it to the Lordship, of course, and then she serves the husband. His husband is very nice. Wow, this is a feast. But then the first thought that sometimes comes to some intelligent man's head, husband's mind is there a reason behind all this feast, right? Because if they look at the past and there were similar patterns, then they check it. But Vaishnavas or Vaishnavis, when they cook it for the pleasure of Lordship and for the health of their husband and children. So, but sometimes in material consciousness, when a wife does this, husband should always be thinking, could it be, but here, Sage Kashyap, he is thinking that she is so elevated. She has really taken it to her heart and she is serving me so much, I should please her too. So he says, ask whatever you want. And at that time, she says, you know that I'm always devoted to you. So he is more pleased, right? So she's glorifying. Now it's very interesting, my dear devotees. In current times also, people have realized this technique. Psychologists discuss it extensively. They say, you know, if somebody is really pleased and asking for feedback or asking for something, a boon or something as a blessing, then it's always good to glorify. So magnanimous you are that you are giving an opportunity. And then you ask what you want to ask. And then also support it by glorifying the person. So criticism also should be sandwiched, like a bun above and a bun below. And then comes the main part in the center. That's how even that should be there. So here she is doing exactly that. She is like, I'm so devoted to you. It's such a boon for me to have you as my husband. He's becoming very, very glad. And then she says, I just want to have a son who can kill Indra. Boom, there comes the big jolt on Sage Kashyap. He's like, what did she just ask? She just asked me to have a son who will kill Indra. And he's in a shocked state. And then he realizes that he has been cheated. So sometimes we have to be very, very careful. When wife has made special meal or special things for us, could there be some purpose behind it? So it's always, good to ask that before instead of afterwards. And so when Sage Kashyap hears this request, he had already given his words, just like King Dashrath, he gave two boon to Kekai. He said, I give you two vachans, two vows that you can ask. I'll fulfill two of your promises. So when Kekai asked, I would like to have Bharat as the king, he was not so much impacted. But when she asked that I would like you to send Ram away on a vanvas to the forest for 14 years, that was like a thunderbolt onto the heart of King Dashrath. So similarly here, Kashyapa Muni, he is feeling the same jolt. Oh, what did I, do? I got attracted to my wife so much, to her service, to her, sweet ways that I forgot my duty and I gave a boon, which would be the cause. But then, Vaishnavas, they are sometimes very intelligent. Why? Because Lord Krishna imparts that intelligence to the devotees. Sarvasya chaham hridaya sannivishto matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha. Lord Krishna says, Matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. From me comes smriti, remembrance, jnanam, knowledge, and apohanam, even forgetfulness. So yes, he was forgetful because of his bodily relationship and the service he performed. But then Kashyapa Muni devises a plan. He says, you have to carry out this vrata. And he tells us a Vaishnava vrata that she has to carry out for a whole year. And he says that if you make a single fault when carrying out this, the son that you're thinking would be an enemy and capable of killing Indra would actually become a friend of Indra, will not be the enemy of Indra. Diti hears it, but then she has such strong determination. She's like, I will not commit any fault. I'm going to be so pakka, so firm in my progression of my this woe and carrying out this specific yajna with such zeal, with so much attention and attentiveness and caution that I will not have any of these faults. Now, one of the interesting thing is, Kashyapa Muni threw in one of the faults is like, you would never go to bed without in an unclean state. That was also part of it. So he had given various rules and regulations. And Diti, she understood the whole process and she is going to carry out this vow. And at that time, Sage Kashyap, he continued, in his onward journey. Diti is following this vow. Of course, she's expecting a son, right? But then she is now pregnant by the mercy of her husband, Kashyap, Sage Kashyap. But for the whole duration, she is going to carry out this vow so that the baby has the capability to be an enemy and the ability to kill Indra. That is her understanding. And now, sometimes when such things happen, as we see even in countries, Indra is also very cautious, what is going on Diti's side? Are they devising any plan or anything? He comes to know that actually Diti is following this great vow to beget a son who will kill me. And my father, Sage Kashyap, who happens to be her husband as well, has given her this boon. Indra is son of Aditi, the elder sister of Diti. So again, two sisters married to the same person, actually many sisters married to the same person, Sage Kashyap. So he is in a very difficult state, but he devises a plan. He says, you know what? I will just go and serve her. Maybe that will change her heart. So Indra goes and starts serving Diti. So as she's carrying out sacrifices, he's getting all the material for that sacrifice and making sure that it is pure. Now, it's very interesting that Indra is doing it not that Diti should get a son who would kill me, but finding a way so that this sacrifice can be spoiled. And his intention is that son should not be born because he had only understood one aspect, that this son will be able to kill me. And knowing that somebody can kill, like we saw Kansa, just knowing that the eighth son of Devaki could kill him, he killed all the six sons of Devaki, being, of course, incited by Devashi Narad. Sage Narad incited him that which one do you know is the eighth son? If they are in a circle, you don't know which one is the eighth son. So Kansa went and killed the six sons, and of course, Lord Balaram was quickly transformed from the womb of Devaki to Rohini, and she was under the care of Nanda Maharaj. And then Lord Krishna, he was born at midnight on Krishna Janmashtami, the 8th day of the moon, and he was taken from Mathura to Gokul and was exchanged with the daughter of Yashodamai. So we hear about all that wonderful stories. So here we are seeing that Indra is very careful, just like Kansa was very careful, keeping guard and on, Vasudeva and Devaki. As soon as the baby is born, he wanted to come to know of it so he can kill it. Just like he tried to kill even the baby girl who was brought from Gokul, but he wasn't aware. He thought that this is the eighth child of Devaki, and so he threw her in the ground, but she went in the sky in her eight-arm form as Durga Devi, but it is Yog Maya, not Durga Devi, as revealed in the scriptures. So here we are seeing that Indra is having his own agenda in serving, but his service is done in a very faultless way, as if Diti's heart would melt and transform. He's not finding a way how to kill the baby. He's not finding a way. And then one day it happens that because of very limited eating, because of heavy austerities, Diti was feeling very tired. And so after finishing her vrat and all the oblations and the daily duty, she went to bed without cleaning her face and mouth, and hands. So that was in an impure state. She went to bed. And Indra got this as an opportunity. He was always looking for such an opportunity. So he was able to enter her womb and he saw the baby there. He immediately took out his vajra and cut that baby into 7 pieces. But what happens sometimes? Man proposes, God disposes. So those 8 pieces turned into, 7 pieces turned into 7 babies. So he had cut that baby into 7 pieces. And they started crying. And Indra is now pacifying them. No, don't cry, don't cry. But he's saying that to pacify the children. But those 7 sons in the womb are crying. And now Indra is cutting each one of those 7 into 7 more pieces. So 7 times 7 is 49. But he's surprised that those pieces turn into babies. Now, this is by the influence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's surprised. He realizes that she had been carrying out the austerities, the whole sacrifice with so much firm determination. She had been carrying out her duties so nicely that that baby cannot be killed by him, because he missed out one aspect. He did not inquire about it. Diti, in her prayer, in her request to Kashyapa, had said, please grant me an immortal son who can kill Indra. The immortal word was there. Indra wasn't aware of it. So he realized now there are 49 of them. Each one of them has the capability of killing him, and they cannot be killed. Yet at the same time, he hears something strange. Having one person able to kill you, you will be scared. Now there are 49 of them ready to, with the capability to kill you. You will be very scared. So in the state, Savitri's state is really very delicate in this case. He's in a very fearful state. And they're like, all 49 of them say, Indra, you're our brother. Why are you killing us? Why are you disturbing us? We love you. And he hears that, wait a minute, they're not my enemies. They actually love me. They're my friends. So when Diti in the morning, she wakes up, what does she see? She sees Indra standing with 49 boys. She's like, Indra, what is going on? Please explain this to me. But then sometimes when you ask someone to reveal their mind, it's also important. It's a matter of etiquette that you should reveal your mind. She's like, I actually had been carrying out this vow to beget a son who can kill you. But I see that you are here standing with these boys, and these appear to be my sons. So please explain what has happened. So now Indra narrates the whole incident. He says, the only purpose I came to serve you in carrying out your vow so nicely was because I was looking for an opportunity. I got the opportunity, but at the same time, I could not kill any of them, and they became 49. Of course, Indra is intelligent enough not to have furthermore, otherwise there will be 343 of them. So Diti, she had been engaging in devotional service. And by the influence of devotional service, her heart has purified. And she has actually attained at this time the transcendental state. Same cannot be said about Indra, because he was not carrying out devotional service. He was carrying out service to satisfy his material agenda. But tada rajastamo bhava kam lobha dayaschaye chetata anaviddam stitam satve prasiddhati. So she was actually in that pure goodness sattva, shuddha sattva state, the transcendental state, where she understood the whole situation, thanked the Supreme Personality of Godhead and her husband. And Indra said that these brothers of mine are my friends, so I will take them along with me and they will be the demigods. So these 49 personalities are known as Maruts. And they are the ones that cause thunder. It's not the thunderbolt thunder. It's the hurricanes, the wind, the devastating wind forms. They are the ones they cause those effects. And when you sometimes see those effects having lightning in them, like the tornadoes, they are caused by Maruts. And sometimes you see lightning in them. That lightning is Rodisha, their wife. So they all have same lady as their wife, who's married to all 49 of them. And in reality, all 49 are coming from one baby. So in reality, there is 1:1 from that perspective. What do we learn from this particular lesson directly from Srimadbhagavatam? We are learning that actually Diti had overcome during the process in carrying out devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, had become fully satisfied. And so she was actually very much in that unalloyed goodness state. Evam prasanna manso bhagavad bhakti yogataha. So she had been carrying out devotional service and direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All her activities were in that way. So she attains the scientific knowledge about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And mukta sangasya jayate. So all her material attachments, they went away. That doesn't mean that she left the body. No, her senses became spiritualized. From this point onward, Diti's life has completely transformed. She has risen above the three modes of material nature and is on a transcendental platform. Same cannot be said about Aditi, who's still trying to look for the interest of her sons and so forth, as we see in the 8th canto. So the incident that I narrated today is in the 6th canto. But later in 8th canto, we see the incident of Bali Maharaj, as how he fights with Indra and he defeats Indra and so forth. And then Indra comes along with the demigod and says, let's do Samudra Manthan, right? Churning of the ocean, the milk ocean, so that we can beget nectar. And it's very interesting that when he's asking about nectar, first, Bali Maharaj says, I don't need nectar. I've got Shukracharya. Shukracharya can bring us back to life. So there is no need for me to get to nectar, any of us to get to nectar. Then Indra says, actually, you guys can be brought back to Shukracharya, but what will happen if Shukracharya dies? Right? Who will bring him back to life? So it was for his spiritual master Shukracharya that Bali Maharaj took this, agreed to participate with the demigods in the churning of the ocean. And we all know that Mohini Murti took away all the nectar, which was actually stolen by the demons, Daityas. Daityas means sons of, descendants of Diti. Yet at the same time, even at this stage, Diti is a devotee of Vaishnavi. Just like Goddess Durga, we refer to her as Vaishno Devi. Vaishno Devi means one who is a she devotee of Lord Krishna. So that's why we refer to Vaishno Devi. So she devotee of Lord Vishnu. And of course, the cause of all Vishnu is Lord Krishna. Ete chams kalahapum sa Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Loke Mradayanti Yuge Yuge. In the 3rd chapter of Srimadbhagavatam, 1st canto, it is revealed that there are many incarnations and plenary portions and portions of devotees, of expansions of Lord Krishna are there, yet at the same time, Lord Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he appears again and again to destroy the enemies. Indrari Vyakulam Loke. Indra, Ari. Ari means enemy of who? Indra. And these enemies of Indra who create disturbances in this material universe. So he comes again and again to annihilate those miscreants, those demons. as he did it in the case of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyakashipu. So here we understand from this lesson that even the hard knot that Diti had was Vidyate Hridayantis. Her hard knot was completely destroyed. Chidyante Sarva Samshayaha. And Krishiyante Chasya Karmani Drishta Evatmanishware. Now, this last one is very important, that one sees the self as the master. Now, my dear devotees, if one says Drishta Evatma Ishware, that's how it is placed. Drishta means one sees. How does one sees? Eva, Atma. And oneself, certainly, exclusively oneself as Ishwara. So when we hear Ishwara, Ishwara refers to controller. So sometimes people misinterpret this Ishwara to say, oh, they become God. It was very interesting. Srila Prabhupada used to say people would come and, they were approaching people, other sadhus and asking, how can we become God? Everyone, this is the envious nature, because we are thinking I'm this body. So in material consciousness, when we think I'm this body, then there are various upadhis that comes to one's mind. That I am an American, I'm an Indian, I'm a husband, I'm a wife, I'm a controller. Ishvara means controller. And everyone in material consciousness, especially in the demonic consciousness, which is in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, is revealed that demonic nature and the divine nature. The demonic person thinks, oh, I'm in control of everything and everything is going to be under my control. I will enjoy and I'll give some charity. I'll perform great sacrifices. I'll be glorified. I'll be famous. All these kind of various, building thoughts comes because of the envy. I refers to envy. When we think I'm this body, it causes envy. The envy sprouts from this feeling of material consciousness of I. And of course, everyone wants to become the greatest. And who's the greatest? God is greatest. Krishna is the greatest. So, of course, people have this tendency, how can I become God? And so that's why this Mayavadi philosophy of merging into Brahman, which is actually a spiritual suicide, but they are thinking that by merging into Brahman, they become God. But in reality, we are active by nature. And even though merging into Brahman, which is Sayujya Mukti, you cannot perform any activity. So they become frustrated. They're like, okay, I'm, light, but I can't do anything. And so they become attracted by seeing so many things happening in front of them, and their gain fall down. Srila Prabhupada reveals this very nicely, and the scriptures also reveal this. So they come back to this material world or some other material world, and then they perform the material activities again, because those desires are still material. The feeling to be controller. But what controller are we talking about? This one sees as master is saying that before becoming Krishna conscious, before the knot of the heart is pierced, before all the misgivings, all the samshaya are like the doubts. Doubts are like demons, as we hear in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is having various doubts he is putting in front of Lord Krishna, and he addresses Lord Krishna as Madhusudan, that the killer of demon Madhu, please kill these doubts, please destroy these doubts. And one's activities, one's actions are not for the fruits of one's labor, but rather for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all the chain of fruitive actions are terminated, kshayante. And one sees oneself as a master of senses. Yes. So when we are in material consciousness, we are Godas. We are the servant of our senses. Go means senses, Das means servant. So when we think in material consciousness, I am this body, everything that belongs to me, having all these activities so that we can enjoy and do sense gratificatory activities. That is all in material consciousness, and that person in that state is referred to as Godas, servant of the senses. But once who becomes an Ishvara, he becomes the Swami, the controller, the commander of the senses, he is referred to as Go, the senses, and Swami, Go Swami. That's also very important. Yet at the same time, we have seen that it's all about the mindset. It's all about the mindset. It's all the mind is the one that's driving all desires that we are carrying out. So mind, body, and words, that's how we carry out these activities. And mind is taking us to the next destination. So when we get desires, we have to be very careful about these desires and understand that we should never think of ourselves as the master, because there is Supreme Master, right? Parameshwara. Param Ishvara. Krishna is Parameshwar. He is the topmost, he is beyond. Actually, all Ishvara, we are all have control of some things in our lives, right? At least having some thoughts, some desires, even that is the control. So, but he is the controller of all controllers. He is, so all desires should be dovetailed for his pleasure. That is a very important subject matter that we'll be discussing in the next class with another story to identify how we can really dovetail our life completely so that Lord Krishna is satisfied. And Lord is also known as Rishikesha. He is the master of the senses. And when we serve him, all our senses are automatically satisfied. And that's why Evam prasanna manaso, we become joyful, right? Because in pure goodness. And when do we stay? And when our mind is constantly in this unalloyed goodness and enlivened, when we are engaged in devotional service. So, my dear devotees, let's constantly engage all our activities driven by mind, body, and words for the pleasure of the Lordship, so that we come to the level of on the transcendental platform and in Krishna consciousness and become free, liberated from all material association. All material misgivings are completely destroyed, and all activities become devotional service because they are carried out for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in that state, our senses get spiritualized, and we can come to the level of Goswami state. It is not a title, like in the case of Nityananda Vamsha and Advaitacharya Vamsha. So their descendants started saying Goswami is a specific title for them only. Hare Krishna Devi, would you like to add anything?
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for this wonderful class. We got so many beautiful points today. It was nice to learn how to cultivate scientific knowledge about Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though we live in this material world, how we can spiritualize our senses. And then these beautiful pastimes are there. You mentioned about Prahlad, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksh, how Krishna appears and performs these transcendental pastimes for benefit of everyone, basically extending Poshanam, his protection, especially for his devotees, having loving exchanges with them in so many ways. As we read from these gems, these nectar verses from Srimadbhagavatam, we are learning so much how by taking shelter of Harinam Sankirtan in these Kali age times, we can find so much hope and faith. I really loved it. You referenced some Siddhir Haritoshnam, which means working for Krishna for satisfaction of Krishna, the Parameshwar, engaging all our senses. And by doing that, we can reach the state of Evan Prasanna Manaso. So it is such a important thing to understand how to have that the in material consciousness, living entities have these anarthas, hridaya granthis, knots in their hearts, which can be pierced. The misgivings can be cut into pieces. One can be free from materialistic consciousness, from the bondage of karma. One has the opportunity to understand the relationship with the Lord, even though living entities are marginal potency. They are quantitatively different, but qualitatively same. We also hear that Krishna is like gold mine. We are the gold particles. So there is so much potential. There is so much opportunity. All we need to do is willingly take to regular engagement in devotional service for purification of our desires, our senses, not forgetting that real purpose is to understand our real position, how to then engage and become purified in devotional service, approaching Krishna. And these things are described so nicely in all these verses we are covering. We are doing Shravan and Kirtan, and Krishna being the supreme, he's the super soul. It's again and again mentioned we cannot approach him with our material consciousness. Our consciousness has to be changed. So the real purpose, as we are understanding, if we can, with faith, engage in this beautiful Harinam Sankirtan, Krishna says, Ye yathama prapadante, right? He reciprocates on the degree of surrender. So at this point, Prabhuji, I'm seeing that we are a few minutes past the time to conclude. If anyone has any comments or questions, we would like you to comment. Please go ahead. Raise your hand and we can call out your name. Let's all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra once. And by that time, if anybody has any question or comment, they can raise their hand.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama Rama,
Rama
Hare.
Hare Hare.
All right.
I do not
Prabhuji,
see any
like
hand.
there are no other comments or questions. Lakshma Mataji is saying Hare Krishna, thank you. Hari Bol. Please go ahead and conclude the call.
Gantra Srimadbhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad ki Janant Koti Vaishnav ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Have a wonderful week in Krishna consciousness. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.
That's it.